So lights are on the gantry. The safety car is just bringing the field through Stirling's at the moment and down towards Clearways Corner. Alex Sidwell sitting there on pole position. The black BMW with its orange flashes in the hands of Kevin Clark that sits alongside the black Audi of Nick Vaughan and the black Ford Sierra of Bradley Gelman. That is the top 4 cars in terms of the coloration, and we're about to get this race underway. Another 2 races to come after this one as well, so the safety car has peeled off, and when the lights go out, Kevin Clark looks to try and get a good run on Alex Sidwell because he was hanging back a little bit there, but it hasn't quite worked for him. Or has it? Right away around the outside goes Kevin Clark. That sets the precedence for what he wants to do in this race. Kevin Clark leads the way. He was so far back, but then just didn't seem to brake going up towards Paddock Hill Bend, all the way around the outside. He leads the way. Alex Sidwell there in 2nd position, but now coming under pressure from the first of the black cars that sits behind, which is going to be the Ford Sierra of Bradley Gelman, who's there in 3rd position. And 4th place at the moment is Nick Vaughan at the wheel of the Audi. Who's he coming under attack from? It's Ryan Steele who sits behind. Running very, very, very wide was Adrian Bradley coming out of Graham Hill Bend. So I'm afraid that green and white BMW is dropping like a stone through the order at the moment.
Yeah, mighty effort though by Kevin Clark, wasn't it? Round the outside of Paddock. Has he got a big enough gap for holding Alex Sidwell off down the straight? Well, Alex Sidwell's going up the inside into Hawthorne Bend, but again Kevin Clark is the last of the late breakers and stays there on the outside line in the lead of the race. He knows he's got his work cut out if he's to keep the powerful Holden Commodore of Alex Sidwell behind it, side by side for 3rd. And that's Nick Vaughan, isn't it, going down the inside of the Bradley Gelman driven Ford Sierra, and Ryan Steele trying to get involved as well in the little Citroen Saxo that runs in 5th position. It's ridiculous, isn't that, Saxo being in 5th position amongst all of these mighty cars, but yeah, it's a well-developed car. It's light, it's nimble, and it's in the hands of a very good driver, in the hands of Ryan Steele, who knows Brands Hatch reasonably well. So Kev Clark leading the way in a straight line is where Alex Sidwell will close up, but I think Kevin Clark's got enough daylight coming onto the Brabham Straight. He won't need to worry about what's going on behind when they head in towards the braking area for Paddock Hill Bend. So Beamer leads Holden, leads Audi, leads Ford, leads Citroen. That's the top 5 at the moment as they turn their way up towards Paddock Hill Bend. And might we have a Peugeot in 6th place? Not quite, because it looks like Don Hughes just lost out there to the number 211 car of Adrian Bradley as he went through Paddock Hill Bend. And I think Bradley Gelman run wide at Paddock, so Ryan Steele's through, isn't he, into 4th position in the Saxo. For Jason Davies on the back of the grid, he's up into 14th position, so he overtook half the cars in just 1 lap of the race. And here he comes down the inside of more machinery into Graham Hill Bend, just getting the better of the Vauxhall Tigra silhouette machine of Simon Collier. So Collier started the lap in 10th, so has Davies gained more positions. He was 4 positions behind him at the start of the lap. Yeah, I think it's Ian Bauer got himself ahead of Collier, so yeah, Collier had already lost 1 place and then lost another, so yeah, brilliant first lap though, isn't it? Carving his way through the field, and he needs to as well, Jason Davies, because of course he saw his championship lead lessened earlier on today, and he knows he's only got 12 minutes now rather than the 15 in order to work his way through the order. The leading Jag at the end of the first lap of the race, 'twas ever number 4 Tom Robinson that was the leading Jaguar at the end of the first lap of the race, from Colin Philpott and Chris Boone. So those are the 3 leading Jags in 17th, 18th and 19th positions overall at the moment. But for the lead of the race, Kevin Clark at the moment is just doing enough, isn't he, to keep at bay Alex Sidwell. Oh, he is, yeah, absolutely. Comes onto the straight and all of a sudden he slows. Kevin Clark, oh, what a shame, just as I said it. That's it for Kevin Clark. The car slowing over the start-finish line. Alex Sidwell takes up the lead of the race. Up to 2nd now comes the Audi in the hands of Nick Vaughan. And up to 3rd is going to be Ryan Steele. I think Kevin Clark's restarted the engine. You see all the lights go off and now it's all come back to life and he's back up to speed. But what a real shame, because we were in for a treat of a race there, I think, between himself and Alex Sidwell, but he's dropped to 3rd position, so Ryan Steele will have to wait a little longer to get up onto the podium. For Jason Davies, he's 8th now, isn't he, in the Ford Sapphire Cosworth, so can Jason Davies get himself up onto a podium position? Because he's going down the inside of Don Hughes. He's got so much more power out of the hairpin and he slices through into another position. Yeah, he's driving the wheels off that thing, but he's not missing apexes and he's so late on the brakes and he still is able to get the car turned in. What 2 slices of luck Alex Sidwell has had in the Classic Thunder races today, because he was in 2nd place earlier on when Jason Davies put it into the gravel trap and that allowed him to pick up the lead of the race. He was in 2nd place a few laps ago when Kevin Clark had that misfortune with the car seeming to switch itself off
And what happened? He's able to pick up the lead of the race again, both times with the cars that were leading having problems.
Kevin Clark's fighting back for second. He's got himself alongside Neil Vaughan's Audi A3 and goes right round the outside at Dingledale up into Sheen Curve. So that was a move showing that Kevin Clark's car straight back up to speed again. So can he close back in on Alex Sidwell? Well, he started the lap 5 seconds behind. He started the lap a bit slower than Alex Sidwell, but Kevin Clark is a man on a mission.
He is a man on a mission, but he's still got a bit of time to try and close in on Alex Sidwell. There's a bit of daylight to close up, and there's 7 minutes in which to do it. Through goes Alex Sidwell, through goes Kevin Clark. The gap between the pair of them is 4.272 seconds, so Kevin Clark setting the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 36.607, and that included the overtake to get to second place in the first place. But no longer is he the quickest on circuit, because now up to 6th position, and with a 1 minute 36.453 comes Jason Davies at the wheel of the Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth.
And remember, at the start of the lap, Kevin Clark wasn't up to speed, was he? Because the car was slowing at the start of the lap. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that develops. Jason Davies, meanwhile, is up with Bradley Gelman, and this is for 5th position into Surtees. Well, he just powered straight past the flame-throwing Ford Sierra Cosworth. So that's 5th position now for Jason Davies. Ryan Steele is just up the road from him. They're in 4th position in the Citroen Saxo, and we have 6 minutes of this race to go, and they're side by side, I think, as they go in towards Hawthorns, and round the outside goes Jason Davies. He is now in 4th position as he makes his way halfway round the 4th lap.
Yeah, there's not a lot Ryan Steele can do at the wheel of his Saxo when he's got Jason Davies closing in, other than sort of stay out of harm's way, really, because you know the inevitable is going to happen. Doesn't matter how good your car is through the twiddly parts, and when you've got someone like Jason Davies, it's always going to be outgunned in a straight line. So here comes Alex Sidwell. There's 5.5 minutes remaining on the slightly shorter 12 minutes race for this Classic Thunder and Jaguar Championship race. Through goes Alex Sidwell over the start finish line. Here comes Kevin Clark. What was 4.272 seconds first to second becomes 3.191, and that's despite the fact that Alex Sidwell briefly set the fastest lap of the race. Kevin Clark has now set a 1 minute 35.1. Now that is about 0.2 of a second quicker than the fastest lap we had in the race earlier on today.
How's Jason Davies getting on? Well, through the traffic, he wasn't quite as quick, was he, as the previous lap, but he was 3.5 seconds quicker than Neil Vaughan ahead of him. And the Audi A3 is still ahead of him as they make their way through Druids. The gap was 3.7 seconds at the start of the lap, so that's another chase that is ongoing. I suspect if Jason Davies catches Neil Vaughan, that'll probably be an easier pass than if Kevin Clark catches Alex Sidwell, because we know the Holden Commodore is quicker in a straight line, and therefore if Kevin Clark does manage to catch Alex Sidwell, he's going to have to do another brave late braking move.
No, very much so. Yeah, another car that I've been trying to keep an idea on the progress of is the Mazda of Clive Hainsford, which is another car that started off the tail end of the field. So that would have started outside of the top 30. He's only up into 18th place, so he's not quite made the progress of some of the others. Buzzer goes off at the end of the pit lane, which suggests that somebody is destined for it, and it's Tom Lentle that's in. So that is a retirement for the Jaguar of Tom Lentle. Still leading the Jags at this stage is Colin Philpott now, that's picked up the lead of the Jaguars by the look of things, because second in the Jaguars is now Tom Robinson, who lost the lead of the Jags on that previous lap. So the number 67 XJS of Philpott leads the Jaguar charge.
Overall leaders across the line, 3.1 seconds between Sidwell and Clark becomes 2.576. So Alex Sidwell is up in his pace. There's lap traffic to come though, and can Kevin Clark use all those years of experience in endurance racing to use the traffic to his advantage? For third, Neil Vaughan still ahead of Jason Davies, but Jason Davies is now with the Audi A3 racer as they turn their way up Halewood Hill in towards the Druids hairpin. For 5th, 6th and 7th positions, there's been a change on that last lap, because Bradley Gelman and the car of Adrian Bradley have got themselves ahead of Ryan Steele. In 8th position is Don Hughes. In 9th position is Tommy Grout, and in 10th position is the car of Simon Collier.
It looks though Kevin Clark lost ground there to Alex Sidwell, because Alex Sidwell was able to work his way through and past Andrew Maynard's Jaguar XJ40 just coming out of Graham Hill Bend along the Cooper Straight, whereas for Kevin Clark, he met him slap bang in the middle of Surtees and therefore couldn't overtake till the exit of the corner. So time was lost through the traffic there between Kevin Clark and Alex Sidwell, and that has opened up the gap between the pair of them. But now Alex Sidwell is faced with trying to work his way through some traffic heading through Sheen Curve, which isn't ideal, and Kevin Clark might have the same traffic to deal with when he gets towards Stirling. No, he just is able to sneak through, so decisive run through the traffic there, Kevin Clark, because he knew he'd lost a little bit of ground relative to Alex Sidwell on the early stages of this lap. Well, Sidwell will come over the start-finish line this time through and will be starting the penultimate lap of the race. Now, the gap will have extended because of the traffic. What was 2.576 seconds this time with 2 laps to go becomes, oh, it does come down still, only just 2.259. So the gaps did still shrink, even though Kevin Clark had a poorer run through the traffic.
Jason Davies is up to 3rd now, but he's too far away from the top 2 surely to do anything about them. 14 seconds back. Then Neil Vaughan is through in 4th position. More traffic for the leader here, Alex Sidwell, as he comes out of Graham Hill Bend down the Cooper Straight. He passes 1, he passes 2, yes, Jaguars, before he gets to Surtees. So Kevin Clark has to squeeze up the inside of the first and of the second. I think actually went to the right hand side of that one. So Kevin Clark continues to chase Alex Sidwell with 1 lap to go at the end of the one they've just started.
Yep, so we'll have to wait and see as to whether he has got anything in reserve. Kevin Clark, he's probably on course to catch, but Alex Sidwell is not going to make it easy to overtake. That is absolutely for sure. Leading Jaguar is still Colin Philpott at this stage. He leads by about a second from the number 4 Jaguar of Tom Robinson, and it's still the Jaguar XK8 number 11 of the man from Coventry, Chris Boone, that completes the top 3 of the Jags at the moment. We've also had into the pit lane the number 90 BMW of Ian Bauer that had problems in race number 1, and clearly he hasn't been able to sort those issues fully ahead of race number 2, so he is posting a retirement. So here comes Alex Sidwell back into sight. A few seconds later, flashing his way into sight up towards Clearways Corner, comes the car of Kev Clark. So as they head onto the start-finish line, I think the gap has come down again between the pair of them. 2.259 seconds becomes this time through 1.4. So Kev Clark is flying. He's doing everything he can, but the frustration must be there with whatever happened early on in the race when the car just seemed to falter on him.
That's right. He's continued to push on to this final lap of the race. He hopped up onto 2 wheels through Paddock Hill Bend up over the curbs, but that brought him back to 10th of a second or so closer to Alex Sidwell. But where's there going to be a place to pass if he is able to catch him? Perhaps into Clearways might be the only real opportunity if he is able to get close enough. There are yellow flags, are there not, at Surtees? So they have to work their way through there safely. Terribly sure. Well, yeah, there's a car off, isn't there, in the gravel? Possibly BMW shaped up there at Surtees, but the leaders have gone probably there without an issue.
And I think it might be Tommy Grout shaped as well, because he's not come through at the end of that lap. So I think it might be Tommy Grout that's gone into the gravel trap there at Surtees Corner. As for the leaders, well, lights ablaze as they head round through Sheen Curve. There's still a little bit of traffic that Alex Sidwell might need to deal with, and Kevin Clark is ever closing as well. And that traffic they might meet on the run in towards Clearways Corner. The clock has ticked to 0. Checkered flag will come out this way this time through. Is Alex Sidwell going to claim it? Is the traffic going to have a pivotal role to play? Well, it might do, you know, because Alex Sidwell is bottled up in the traffic, and Kevin Clark has got a better run as they go through and past the back markers on the charge to the line. Surely this will favour Alex Sidwell, who's got just that little bit more power. He comes through to make it 2 out of 2. Kevin Clark lost out on a win earlier on today by just over a second. He loses out later on this afternoon by 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, great comeback driver. He'll be absolutely frustrated, won't he, with whatever happened on one of those early laps when the car slowed. But a great climactic finish that we had from that. For 3rd position, a long way back, 17 seconds, Jason Davies, who come from the back of the grid. So all 3 drivers should have plenty to talk about after that race. Neil Vaughan came home in 4th position. In 5th position, that went the way of Adrian Bradley, who had those problems at the start of the race. In 6th position was Bradley Gelman. In 7th position was Ryan Steele. In 8th position was Don Hughes. ninth should go the way of Stephen Collier. He's just ahead of the Vauxhall Forenza of Tony Davies, who's had a good race, and we'll have to wait a little while before we get the Jaguar leaders through, because Colin Philpott and Tony Robinson snuck onto another lap of the race. Third position, already taking the flag in the Jaguars, was Chris Boone, but we'll have to see if Colin Philpott can hang on. He was pretty much 4 seconds ahead of Tom Robinson at the start of the lap, so you would think that shouldn't be a problem for Colin Philpott, and yes, indeed, he turns his way through clearways and onto Clark Curve, and this will be Colin Philpott's first win in the Jaguars this year, and he will see the checkered flag, so he goes through to win the Jaguar division. And second, Tom Robinson, for only the second time this season he has been beaten. So that completes the Classic Thunder and Jaguars. Great race it was, but it was a race win for Alex Sidwell by 0.391 of a second after 8 laps of racing from Kevin Clark, and third went the way of Jason Davies. And in the Jaguars, it was Colin Philpott that won from Tom Robinson, and in third place Chris Boone. Fourth position in the Jaguars went to Michael Holt, fifth went to Mike Seaborn, and sixth went the way of Rick Walker. So great to see those cars here today, and they will continue their season at Snetterton with the British Truck Racing Championship in 5 weeks' time.